Counselor Matters.
Present.
Counselor Fritz.
Present.
Okay, Ellen, you'll read the notice.
Notice of public hearing. Please take notice that the town board of the town of East Greenbush will hold a special meeting tonight, May 26th, 2020, beginning at 6 p.m. as scheduled per resolution 119 of 2020. Pursuant to executive order number 202.1 issued by Governor Cuomo on March 12th, 2020, and advisories issued by federal, state, and local officials related to the COVID-19 virus, the town board will convene the public hearing remotely as follows. The special meeting will commence at 6 p.m. and shall be conducted through the use of Zoom, a web-based video conferencing tool with local desktop client and smartphone applications that will allow board members and the public to participate electronically and remotely by audio and with or without a video connection. The meeting will also be live streamed on the town's YouTube channel.
Thanks, Ellen. Normally what we do now is we start with public comment, but we're going to push that back. I want to welcome Mike and Karen, Joanne, Beth, and excuse me, Ms. Cannon. What is your first name?
Marissa Cannon.
Marissa. We want to welcome you too. But before we have Jeffrey Simons do the budget presentation, I just want to say that Jeff and I have stayed in touch. I think we've worked very well together. We kind of showed up around the same time and wandered aimlessly around about the same number of months, and then we figured it out. But I do have to say this for anyone who's watching this. We have the superintendent of schools we need right now. Jeff Simons has he hasn't been throwing curveballs. He's been throwing knuckleballs. He's been throwing spitballs. You name it, it's been thrown at the schools. And Jeff has kept us calm. He's always a gentleman. And Jeff, I just want to acknowledge that publicly, that your leadership, and I've seen it up close, but your leadership during this pandemic has been, and I mean this, truly inspirational. So thank you for that, and take it away.
Well, I really appreciate those comments, Jack, and I want to extend my thanks to you and the members of the town board for the ongoing partnership that we have. I think we have a great thing going between the school district and the town right now, and I too, Jack, want to extend to you my personal gratitude for the relationship that we forged, but also for the many different types of activities that we're working on together. And it's really nice to have the communication. Jack and I have been part of a community meeting that we're having almost every week, talk about just what's happening and how things are going. We meet with Shannon Romanowski, the director of the Y. We're meeting with Jill, the director of the library, as well as the police chief, just to kind of talk through some of the challenges that we're having, but also to talk about the coordination. And again, it's a remarkable partnership that we've forged, Jack, and we want to keep that going. And I appreciate the town board extending me the opportunity for a special meeting. Always. Before I go to the formal slide show, I just want to put this budget presentation in context in terms of the way that the pandemic and the school closing and the shift to online learning, as well as other services we're providing, has impacted the schools, as well as what we might anticipate happening regarding the financing of our schools, which is a big unknown and a big uncertainty. We're in a position right now as a school district in which we don't know whether or not we are reopening under a traditional model of delivering education in September. We simply don't know. We're being asked to prepare for both modifications of our procedures, our protocols, our school schedules, our busing, and almost everything you can imagine in September if we were to open, to ensure that we are able to provide services to the children, the staff, and the community in a safe manner. Also, at the same time, we're being asked to potentially prepare for an extension of where we're at right now in terms of online learning, continuing to serve the mandate of providing lunch and breakfast for our students who need it, food deliveries to our families, as well as mandated childcare for essential employees, and that childcare program is currently operating out of Goff. So we're in a period of time where we're very uncertain as to what is going to happen in terms of how we deliver education to the community. And so our budget has been framed with a lot of conservative calculations, a lot of unknowns, so that we can address the needs as those needs continue to become more visible to us as a school board and a school district. And so I'm going to move to the formal presentation. A lot of what you're going to see will be very familiar to you, but the context in which this is occurring is very, very different than anything we've had to experience. The big factor that could potentially influence this budget is the governor has said that if we do not receive federal assistance for state and local governments, he may reduce state aid to schools by as much as 20%. We interpret that to mean 20% of our main category of aid, which is foundation aid. 20% of foundation aid to East Greenbush is $3.4 million. And if we were reduced $3.4 million, we will have to make adjustments to our budget. We will have to look at a combination of cuts in addition to utilizing more of our reserves. At this point, we haven't made those decisions because we're waiting to see what happens, and we recognize that our students may be coming back in September having had different experiences with online learning, and we want to have room in the budget to be able to accommodate whether or not children need more support, whether that be academic support, whether that be mental health to address social emotional needs. So our budget will accommodate that, but we also are telling everyone that we're not out of the woods, so to speak, in terms of the fact that we're not proposing cuts right now, but we may have to make an adjustment in the summer, and we may even have to make an adjustment during the school year, depending on what happens with our state aid. So I'm going to click share screen, and I'm going to hope that this works, and I'm going to ask Peter to give me a hand. Presentation. What do I need to do? Move this over there? It won't go. Can you see the presentation?
No.
Yes.
So,
I can't.
not yet.
Everyone- Not? Okay, bear with me.
Click on the Google Slides tab, Jeff.
At the top.
Here.
Go up a little higher above your browser where it says Google Slides, click on that.
Crazy.
Underneath this banner,
Bear with us.
it's hiding underneath the Zoom banner.
There it is. Oh, there you go. Okay.
And then you gotta.
Perfect.
Okay. It was hiding underneath the Zoom banner. I apologize for that. That's why we have Peter here. So thank you for your patience. As you are familiar, our East Greenbush School District engages in a lot of planning, not only during this time as we prepare the budget to present to the community, but we have a long-range plan that is tied to our board's goals, and we try to be future-oriented. We're trying to continue to move our district forward academically. We have a lot of things to be proud of. We've expanded the number of college courses, for example, that we offer at the high school, and we offer a wide variety of programmings, but all of that comes with long-range planning from the board level down to the administrative level to the classroom level. And of course, we have to align the spending plan that we propose to the community with our long-range goals. And as I mentioned earlier, in a particularly uncertain time. Board's goals continue to be emphasizing academic achievement. We want to reflect on what we're offering our students. We want to continue to try to be innovative. We're accountable not only to the students, the families, but the community at large. And we want to make sure that we can continue to provide opportunities for our students. We try to deliver educational, human, and fiscal resources in ways that enhance achievement, but we also are mindful of the need to sustain growth within the school community. And the district has projected that our student enrollment will continue to grow over the next 5 and 10 years, particularly at the elementary school level. So some of the adjustments that we've had to make in the budget are to accommodate increased enrollment. East Greenbush is both growing in student population and in its tax base, which are factors that affect the annual budget. Additionally, we pride ourselves on cooperative and collaborative relationships with organizations such as the town board, as well as many agencies within the community, as well as Questar, BOCES, and other districts. And we want to cultivate a progressive, innovative, and safe environment for our students and our staff. Some academic achievements that we highlighted throughout the past school year. East Greenbush Central School District is proud of the fact that our graduation rate is 96%, the third highest in the capital region. And so of the 87 or so districts in our region, we are really tied for second, but we are considered to be in the top 3. We rank 9th among the capital region school districts in terms of student performance, which not only includes graduation rate, but also our state performance on 3 through 8 testing, grade 3 through 8 testing. And we are the top performing district in Rensselaer County as rated by Albany Business Review. There are only about 131 schools in the state that have been recognized as recognition schools and reward schools. Recognition and reward schools are schools that have not only achieved high achievement on standardized tests such as Regents exams, but schools that are closing the gap between certain student groups and all students. For example, we had a 12% increase in the number of our economically disadvantaged students that graduate within 4 years in the most recently released graduation ranking data. So we are proud that Columbia has been recognized with that distinction. And this year, both Red Mill and Columbia were re-recognized again as recognition schools. We've added a number of college-level courses to our high school schedule. We now have 29 courses that offer students college credit. That is not only an advantage for our students to be able to perhaps graduate from high school with enough credits to become a sophomore in college, and we have many that do that, but it's also a savings on our families, where students have an opportunity to earn college credit in high school. And recently this year, we formed a 3+1 partnership with Sage Colleges, which enables students to graduate from the high school with on a pathway for a career in education. We have a similar partnership that we entered into with Siena College, where students can graduate from Siena in 4 years with a master's degree in business administration, having started their program in business administration while still at Columbia High School. Additionally, we're continuing to move forward on our phase 2 project that the community approved for renovation of our schools. We're in the process of finishing up the fire and smoke alarm systems, which will be brand new. We have updated our security systems, cameras, as well as access controls. And we are moving into phase 2 of the project, which will involve expanding the handicapped accessibility for our students in our restrooms, as well as some work involved with the asbestos abatement and electrical and plumbing work. Additionally, we have been monitoring our enrollment. We started an initiative this year to reach out to families, let us know if they have children under 5 that they anticipate coming to school within the next 5 years so that we can continue to plan. You are aware that we did an attendance transition zone plan in which we shifted some of the attendance zones because we have room at Genet to accommodate more students and at Red Mill, and we were running out of room at Belltop. So we made some adjustments to where students attend school, and that has gone very well. Again, given the increased enrollment in the district, we are continuing to plan and reaching out to families to find out as much as we can about the number of students who will be entering school over the next 5 to 10 years. Additionally, we are working to retain our bus drivers. There is a bus driver shortage across New York State. We have been fairly successful and have a high retention rate. Additionally, we have used monies provided by the state through a Smart Schools grant to upgrade our technology, including a one-to-one program, which has proved to be quite advantageous given the current situation that we're in. We've been able to provide almost every student who needs one a Chromebook, and we have upgraded our infrastructure to be able to support expanded use by our teachers and our students of our network. Grateful that we did that, of course, not anticipating that we would be doing online learning and remote connections to our families during this time. Some other highlights, we have created backpack programs in each of our schools to provide for children and families. We've expanded that during this pandemic, and we're offering food to our families distributed through Columbia High School. Mike Leonard, Audrey DeBacco, and others within our district are doing a remarkable job making sure that we're taking care of the community. Additionally, we've had a intramural program over the summer to help our student athletes work out and stay in shape free of charge. Additionally, last year we raised more than $13,000 for the Teal Ribbon Run for ovarian cancer, and we've hosted a number of workshops this past year on such topics as utilizing technology, managing technology, recognizing anxiety in children, use of social media in a safe way. We continue to be proud of our School Resource Officer program in partnership with the town of East Greenbush at Columbia High School and in partnership with the county at Howard L. Goff Middle School. I mentioned the phase 1 construction is almost complete for a capital project, and we've had a lot of training for our staff and our students on social and emotional wellness. And we have started a committee to promote global education so that our teachers, our students can respond positively and supportively to changing demographics within our community, where we have seen a number of increases over the last 10 years in the number of families that we serve whose primary language is not English. And we've had to move from a situation where at one time 10 years ago we had one ENL teacher, we now have 6 because of the growing population. Lots of awards, too many to fit on one slideshow. The Science Olympiad team, again, won its 27th regional title in 28 years. Our indoor track team, the boys indoor track team, went and placed first in the sectionals. And Howard L. Goff Middle School has had a character education program in place. And we recently announced that we partnered with No Place for Hate. And we met the accreditation for No Place for Hate for Howard L. Goff Middle School to be named a school that represents No Place for Hate, which is about tolerance, diversity, being able to respond positively and appropriately in solving issues that may emerge within our student population or within our families in a positive, proactive manner. And I think that recommendation came from one of your board members, Tina Tierney, to pursue that. So I'll give Tina credit for that idea. Additionally, we've had many teachers recognized. Maria Fontaine, who's a school social worker in the district, recognized by the district as the Teacher of the Year. Red Mill Principal Helen Squillace was named Special Educator of the Year. She had previously served as our Director of Pupil Personnel Services. Anthony Servidone, our longtime successful coach, wrestling coach, was inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. And Green Meadow teacher Erin Tarbach was inducted into the Columbia High School Alumni Hall of Fame for all the good work that she does, both in the district and also in helping support children who are born premature. Twice in a row, 2 years in a row, East Greenbush School District, through nomination of an outside vendor, a survey that was done, has been named a top workplace. That is based on really surveys of our employees. We were the only school district recognized in 2019 and in 2018 as a top workplace. Additionally, we are a school district who's very proud of its student athletes, not only for their performance on the fields and on the courts, but also because of the character that they demonstrate while conducting and competing in athletics. We won the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Sportsmanship Award for 7 years in a row. We're very proud of our safety record as well. Utica National Insurance rates school district based on the overall number of issues they experience, such as injuries or accidents. And for 17 years in a row, under the guidance and leadership of Mr. Edson, as well as our directors of transportation, as well and our other administrators, we have won the Utica National Insurance School Safety Excellence Award. And thankfully, we are not rated as one of the districts under fiscal stress by the New York State Comptroller due to the board's oversight of the district's finances, as well as Mr. Edson's financial acumen. Well, how can we be successful in the future? I mentioned that the tax base in East Greenbush is growing. The growth in the tax base is one of the factors calculated into our tax cap. East Greenbush's tax base is growing at the third fastest rate of all of the suburban council districts, only behind Shen and Boston Spa, excuse me. The enrollment, again, I mentioned, is projected to increase primarily at the elementary level over the next 5 years. We are preparing for that enrollment as we adjust our staffing to accommodate the expectations for class sizes. We want to start shifting here to talk a little bit about the aid that the state provides the district. Earlier this year, we conducted a forum with other school districts who were in the same situation as East Greenbush, having only received the minimum amount of state aid increase. We were basically in the lowest tier because of various factors, including the state considers East Greenbush to be an average wealth district, although not all of our students are of average wealth, and we have students with needs. We are considered average by New York State standards. Our aid increases averaged about 0.75% over the last few years, which was the lowest amount of aid increase for any school district. And you can see from this slide that there's a gap of more than $2 million in terms of what we receive versus what the formula says we should receive because of the state's different approach to state aid. Additionally, we are comparing the percentage aid increase that we've received over the last few years from 2017 to the Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index represented by the red line on our graph. And you can see what has happened to state aid to the district. It has declined at a rate and is far less a percentage increase than the Consumer Price Index. So our state aid increases are not even keeping up with the cost of living. Historically, the Board of Education has worked hard to keep our tax levy increases within the tax cap. Every year since the inception of the tax cap, our board has worked hard with district administration, staff, and families to keep our tax levy increases below the cap. As you know, the cap is an adjustable cap. It is not a strict 2% cap. This year's cap was 1.62%. Our budget is proposing a 1.5% increase in the tax levy. That increase is the lowest school budget proposed tax levy increase in the last 5 years. We recognize that the community, many members of our community are challenged by the current financial circumstances of the pandemic. However, that 1.5% increase represents about $900,000 of revenue to the school district that we need to either maintain our programs or to offset the impact of potential state aid cuts on our students and potential spikes down the road in terms of the tax levy. I know that the town board is very familiar with the tax cap formula. We factor in our property value growth. The fact that we are growing as a district gives us the ability to raise the levy and earn an additional $760,000 approximately. We have to consider the impact of payment in lieu of taxes agreements on the overall budget, but also the tax cap. When pilot payments go up from this year to next year, if there is an increase, there is a reduction in the amount of money that we can raise through the levy. And we are anticipating pilot agreements increasing revenue to the district fairly significantly next year. But we have to subtract from the amount of money we can raise through the levy about $810,000. Portions of our capital spending representing principal and interest on our school projects that have been approved in the past are factored into a deduction of those expenses within the tax cap. We are able to, because we have retired certain capital project debt, we have to subtract about $83,000 from the amount of revenue we can raise through the cap. And on the plus side, because of the growth in the consumer price index and how it's factored into the cap, we can yield an additional $1,064,000. So those are the tax cap components. How do we compare to other districts like East Greenbush? In terms of our tax rates, we're about in the middle of the pack at $18.89 per $1,000 of assessed value home. How do we compare over a 10-year average? In tax levy increases, we are the second lowest. Whereas we present a budget that has a 1.5% increase to the levy, we would like the community to understand that over a 10-year period, our tax levy increases have been less than 2%, and we are the second lowest among suburban council districts over a 10-year average at 1.83%. This chart shows where we were at with our budget back in March. The proposed budget that we will bring to the voters in June is a $99.7 million budget. The budget is increasing by 4%. However, a large portion of that increase is associated with the shift from short-term borrowing, bond anticipation notes, to a full bonding on previous capital projects, which is required by law. So we begin the process of not only paying just the interest, but we're paying principal and interest on our debt. Well, large portions of that 4% increase are related to a factor associated with our capital project payment schedule. The tax levy, as proposed at 1.5%, would yield approximately $58.4 million on the revenue side of the district's budget. In addition to the budget, the town board is familiar with how we purchase our buses. We save money that has been set aside and appropriate that money into a transportation reserve. We are proposing to buy 8 buses to replace aging buses with higher mileage at a cost of $736,000. All of the monies used for purchasing the buses are coming out of the reserve. We do not plan on borrowing any money. We're going to use monies that we've set aside and that the community has historically supported. And then we also have the election of 3 of our board members, Mr. Buno, who is our board president, Mrs. Karen Curran, who is a long-term member of our board, and Mark Mann, who is our board vice president. We have 3 board members, incumbent board members, running for 3 seats. And so because the election is uncontested, we are not having a meet the candidates night. The process for voting is challenging. That's why we're trying to get the word out. In the room next door to my office, we have 22,000 envelopes, 22,000 paper ballots. Actually, we have 44,000 envelopes because we have the envelope to send the ballot in the mail, and we have the paid postage envelope to return the ballot, which is required by executive order. So the vote will be on June 9th. And in order to register for the vote, you are automatically registered if you have voted in either a county or school election in the past 4 years. If citizens are interested in registering and have not registered, they can register online through the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles. All of the voting will occur through mail-in paper ballot, and all of the ballots need to be received in the envelope that was provided and signed, because there's an affidavit on the back of the envelope which is required in order to count the vote. They need to be received by 5 o'clock on June 9th in order to be counted. Additionally, the last day to register so that the rolls can be open for an inspection is Tuesday, June 2nd. We're trying to get the word out. In order to qualify to vote on the school budget and board election, you need to be a citizen of the United States, 18 years of age, a resident of the district for 30 days preceding the day of the vote, and you need to be registered to vote. The absentee ballots will be issued to all registered voters. The mailing is expected to go out this week, May 29th. Individuals receiving all of the individuals registered as voters will receive a ballot. So if you have 3 registered voters in your household, you'll receive 3 mailings and 3 ballots. We have to mark an X or a check mark. We have to sign the back of the envelope in order for the vote to be counted. And if there are any questions regarding the process, people can contact the district's clerk office, and that information is on our website. We want people to turn the ballots around quickly, mail them back to the district so that they get here by 5 o'clock, June 9th, sent to the district clerk. And here is a nice photo of what you see on the back of the envelope and the signature, John Q. Voter. Critically important that people sign that. We want to get the word out about that, or it will not be able to be counted. Typically, we have 2 opportunities to put a budget forth to the community. This year, we have heard nothing about a second vote. We don't anticipate that there will be a date for a second vote. So we're hoping that the budget will pass on the first vote, or we will have to go to a contingency budget. And under a contingency budget, we'll have to cut about $900,000 from the budget because we won't be able to adjust the tax levy next year. $863,479 under a contingency budget. We have to look at non-mandated programs. We often say just because they're not mandated doesn't mean they're not important to the community. Our social workers are fulfilling a very critical role right now in our schools to provide social, emotional, mental health support to our students. We have a great service that we're providing those kids and families. The social workers are not mandated by New York State Education Department regulations. Our class size averages are not mandated by New York State regulations. Our alternative education programs such as Jumpstart, OG, and the Columbia Alternative Program are reasons why our graduation rate is 96%, but those programs are not mandated. Those are programs for kids who need extra support, graduate in 4 years of high school. But these are all examples of things that we've added because we think that they benefit the kids. And we also know that they are important to the community. But in the event that our budget does not pass, we have to look at these non-mandated areas for potential reductions. At this time, the goal is to put forth a budget that yields enough revenue to be able to support our programs. The tax rates are impacted by the overall assessments within the various towns that we serve in the district, not just East Greenbush, but all of the towns. There is a residential versus commercial tax rate that varies within the district. Our equalization rate, which is the value of our property as it impacts the overall tax rate calculation, and any changes that New York State may make in tax computations. So the tax rates generally are set in late August. The board is simply proposing a budget that would yield a tax levy increase of about 1.5%. Here's a breakdown of the buses that we plan to purchase at a cost of $736,000. We consider student safety, the mileage of the buses, the fuel efficiency. For every dollar that we take out of the reserve to buy a new bus, the state replenishes that reserve in the form of transportation aid at 65 cents on a dollar. So 65.2% of the money comes back in transportation aid. It goes right back into our reserve to replace future buses, which keeps our buses safe, modern, and efficient, operating to transport our children. Additionally, the timeline for the budget has changed this year. The board adopted our budget last Wednesday, May 20th. We're having a public hearing at a regular board meeting tomorrow evening, and that will occur at 7 o'clock. Additionally, we have the vote on June 9th. So that concludes my formal presentation of the budget. I appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate the town providing us this opportunity. And again, at this point, the budget provides enough support in the event that we receive federal monies to offset program cuts. And again, a 20% reduction would be $3.4 million, and we would have to look at some reductions. We've asked the board to hold off on filling any vacant positions between now and mid-June as we learn more about what the state might do with school aid. So positions that have been vacated by retirements, and we know this year, or people who have resigned, we are not filling those positions until such time as we know what might happen with our school aid. There are 4 measurement periods in which the state budget director is going to review what's happening with the state finances. The second budget measurement period will end on June 30th. So if we are going to receive a cut, it's potentially going to occur between now and June 30th. We just don't know at this point, unless otherwise federal aid is provided. That concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions or concerns that the board may have.
Yeah, thank you. First off, thank you, Jeff. I just want to make a couple of comments. I think under the circumstances, this is a very responsible budget. People are hurting. You know, we've got to keep taxes as low as we can, and that's what you've done here. So I think under the circumstances, it's a very responsible budget. I'd hate to see it rejected, because then, you know, we don't need the process after that. So I'm really supportive of this, Jeff. I think this is a very responsible budget under the circumstances, and not easy to put together either. I'm already worried. I don't have to do mine till the end of the summer, but I'm already terrified.
Yeah.
And we don't have the reliance on state aid that you have. You know, and so when the governor is crying poverty, and I really do think the federal government needs to step in. You know, teachers, police officers, fire, you know, EMS people. That's where we're going to lose, and we can't. And those are not people we can lose. So, no, I really appreciate you coming and doing it. So, if anyone else has any questions or comments, jump, Tina.
Yeah, hi. I don't have any questions, but I do have some comments. So if you'll bear with me with that. First, I want to thank Superintendent Simons for the very informative presentation. You know, again, as Jack said, very fiscally responsible. We really appreciate you considering people's well-being financially as you undertook this. You know, and thank you overall for your work during normal circumstances, but in particular, thank you for your leadership and communication during this pandemic. It's been very, very difficult, and I'm sure that you've been working many long hours. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you to the board members for being here. It's nice to see them. I saw today that the valedictorian and the salutatorian were named, so that congratulations to Owen Ball and Nina Tedeschi. I've known Owen since he was in kindergarten. He's a great kid. No surprise that he is a star. We've met both of them at the Science Olympiad when they came to the town board meeting, so congratulations to them. And then just 2 quick additional thank yous. Before many of the Board of Education members signed on, I mentioned I had just come home from the Columbia High School athletic fields where the athletic department organized photos for all of the senior spring athletes. My son was part of the baseball program. It was a really thoughtful, well-organized, very nice and safe event. So, you know, kudos to your athletic department, Mr. Leonard, Mary Signorelli, Coach Chris Diedrich, Coach Steve Taylor, Coach Jeff Rose and Tyler Rose and Sean, the trainer. I'm sure you're very proud of all of them, and that gesture from the district is really important. You know, making these connections, building these relationships, building community is really ultimately part of school safety that we talk about all of the time. So really important, and really, since Joanne Taylor's on here, thank you, Joanne, for the work from the Education Foundation to deliver those class of 2020 lawn signs. Really one of the best experiences we've had since the stay-at-home order. It was really amazing. All of our neighbors came outside. You know, both of my sons said how great it was to see their teachers, how much they missed them. Really, those thoughtful gestures really do build community, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just like to throw out just a few things, if I could. To the superintendent, to the other board members. present tonight. You know, clearly, you know, this budget process is a challenge under normal circumstances. It is every year. It's the budget process generically that's always a challenge to any unit of government. It is to this town, and it certainly is to the school district. But this year, obviously, you know, presents a very unique set of circumstances, and it may next year and maybe the year after. It's hard to say, you know, how far out this is going to be with this crisis. But you know, kudos to the superintendent for the detail that he's laying out this evening in this PowerPoint presentation. Very informative. You know, so often the questions that anyone would have regarding the fiscal map for the coming fiscal year, those questions are difficult to you know, to pose really, and to kind of organize. But clearly, this presentation, you know, clarifies so much. So I really compliment the superintendent on this budget presentation. You know, further, you know, you know, what's having to be contended with this year, you know, in terms of the graduation of the seniors, and really maybe just again, really just a sense of emptiness, I guess, you know, knowing that, you know, the virus is just having to, you know, be dealt with on so many different levels, and as innovative as everyone wants to be, there's still that sense of loss, I guess. So, you know, knowing that the superintendent, the board, the teachers in the school district are having to contend with all this, it's just it's just another layer of challenge. And I know that they're all dealing with this in the most responsible way possible. You know, my thoughts are with everyone in having to deal with this. And again, with the uncertainty that this virus is presenting everyone, in terms of reopening the schools in the fall, again, another challenge. I was actually earlier going to ask the superintendent how that's really being handled, how that direction is being, you know, what thought is being put into that, what the basis is of reopening, and really what kind of direction is being taken, whether it's being taken by the executive chamber or the board of regents, or, you know, that was kind of one of my questions, I guess, superintendent, in terms of how you deal with that. But I know that, again, another level of challenge, and it's I think the uncertainty of all that is kind of disconcerting to everyone. But I think, you know, people in this district have a lot to be thankful for. With your leadership, will to the extent possible take the reduce the questions and uncertainty that people are going to have in the coming months, and again, maybe in the coming years as well. So thank you again, and it was a pleasure being here to listen to this presentation.
Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate your comments. In regard to school reopening, just because you brought that up as a question, right now, the school districts have received little guidance about it at all. There's a state task force that has been formulated representing school districts as well as other statewide and national roles. There are superintendents and teachers and others on that task force that will provide some framework for guiding the local school districts. We are forming our own task force representing employees and parents and community to talk about what ifs scenarios, everything from what the procedures would be to ensure students and staff are able to enter school and practice social distancing, evaluating our transportation operations in the event that we have to reduce the number of children riding on a bus. cafeteria service, how that might look different. Gym, will PE classes be operating in the gym? Whether or not we're operating on a hybrid model for part of the day, learning remotely from home, and part of the day physically coming into school. We're trying to anticipate every scenario that might come down, so to speak, from the state ed department, so that we can respond accordingly. Over the weekend, there were some media reports that schools were going to have to provide a plan by July 1st. And if that turns out, we've gotten no direction on that from the state education department or the governor's office. But in the event, July 1st will come rather quickly. And we need to have a working group ready to respond with a plan to submit to the state in the event that we are going to reopen in September. So it's another one of those unknowns, uncertain. We have to anticipate what the issues might be. There's a lot of regional discussion among school districts through the BOCES, the Questar, other BOCES, about what all the decisions are that need to be made. And we're working through it, but we don't have clear expectations at this point.
Thank you.
Bridget, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for doing the presentation. I know this has been a huge challenge. All of the changes that have taken place, it just, I can't even imagine being in your guys' shoes. Although I have heard from my sister some of it. So I do want to thank you, and because I recognize how challenging that is. And I also want to say I agree with Tina how wonderful the staff has been. The elementary school parades, because I have the elementary schooler. Tina has the high schoolers, I have the elementary. So I'm seeing it from a different level. I'm seeing the different schools coming around. I'm seeing teachers who are coming to see their students. We actually just got a postcard from my son's teacher for his birthday today.
That's
So the amount of personal contact that is still being done, even while social distancing, is amazing. And the school has really stepped up and done a great job. And this budget shows that. It shows that you guys are really taking into account all of this that's going on in these difficult times, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Bridget.
Okay. Ellen, do you have any questions or want to say anything? Ellen Kleinberg?
Sorry.
Are you muted?
I was muted, Jack.
Do it.
No, Mr. Simons, I just want to, thank you for being with us tonight. I'm, glad we were able to do it this way. Like yourself, with, the whole entire school district and, us at the town and the town board, we're just, making things work. And like you've heard, everyone is, going through this together. And, there's been, some low points for, all of us, I'm sure at times, but, Bridget and Tina had mentioned there, I heard the parade coming, before I even saw it coming through my neighborhood for the seniors. And just the 518 Rainbow Hunt, and it's East Greenbush really has, pulled together, and you definitely see some positive sides of, unfortunately, the pandemic that we're all going through. It, certainly brought, some good things overall. But you can tell you've put your, just a lot of time, effort. I can't imagine the hours. We're all still working, but I can't imagine the hours you're putting in. And this presentation was very thorough, and like someone else mentioned, you're truly taking it to heart as everyone in the situations that they're in. So we're very thankful that, you presented this, and we were able, again, to do this the way we're able to do it right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
All right, and Mike and Karen, I wish you good luck. I ran unopposed last year and just scraped by, so I hope you can do better than that. But to the extent that anybody's watching, to the extent that anyone cares what I have to say, This is a very responsible budget, and this, I've never said this before, I've never advocated one way or the other, but this budget needs to be passed because there's too many balls in the air, there's too many variables that can bite us later, that we have to nail down some important piece of this. And I think approving this budget will at least do that. The challenges, Jeff, are, as you know, are coming, and they could be ugly, but I think this is an important start, and I really thank you guys for the work you did before. And Jeff, I'll say it again, you have been a masterful performer during this pandemic. No easy task.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks, guys.
All right. I appreciate everybody's time and attention, the thoughtful questions and comments. And, I'll leave you with one thought. We don't know a lot of things right now, and it's very uncertain, but one thing we know for sure, our kids are worth it. And our community has high expectations for its educational system. We want to keep it that way. We think the budget reflects that our kids are worth it, and we want to meet the community's expectations. So again, I thank everybody for their time, appreciation. If you can spread the word regarding the school budget, particularly the voting process, we really appreciate your time and your continued support. And we wish you good health and good safety as you go forward and take care of your responsibilities, including your families.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, so Meg, you're in charge now, right?
Yes, if there's just real quick in regards to the voting, if there's some more detailed information that you guys could email over, I'll make sure it get posted first thing on tomorrow morning on the website.
Excellent. We'll send that right over to you.
All right, thank you.
And was Larry Edson hiding there all this time? I didn't even see him.
He's hiding in the shadows right now.
We didn't even get to roast Larry before he rides off into the sunset. We'll have to honor him at a town board meeting.
Very good.
Embarrass him, give speeches, just drive you crazy, Larry.
Thank you. And I'll pass the word on the budget.
We will.
Your ballots by the end of the week. Watch for the white envelopes in the mail. And of course, don't forget to sign the back.
And Larry, if nobody else has said it yet, and eventually everyone's going to say it, thank you for the work you did here. Brilliant work. Never before has a person been able to walk away with their head held as high as you can. Just a brilliant performance.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
It's also the truth. So, all right, guys. Thank you guys from the school district.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go to public comment. Megan, is there anyone from the public here?
Hold on, I'm waiting for everybody to clear out. I do not. Helps if I'm not muted. As far as I'm assuming Beth Hart is Steve.
That's correct.
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay.
Steve's a technology wizard. We figured this out this week. He's in my league.
Are you guys hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, that is me.
There you go. You're changed now.
But Beth's a school teacher, so she got credit for an hour listening to that wonderful speech.
Well, good for her. He had to put up with you, Steve. She deserves everything she gets. All right, so what we'll do then is we'll go to the resolutions. And the first resolution is Resolution 122 of 2020, a resolution to adopt an order pursuant to Section 193, parentheses 1, parentheses A of the town law to set a date and time for the town board to consider a petition for the extension of the general sewer district, the Pheasant Hollow Golf Course project, and certain additional residential properties. I move this resolution. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on this resolution?
No, well, it's been a long time coming, and I think we finally have, agreement on who's in the district, who's not in the district. Adam, I know you'll be glad to put this part of it to bed. But what the other thing is that what this does is set a public hearing for June 17th at 6:45, which is in the order attached. It's time to do this, I think. That's the only comment. So we can, if no one else has anything, we can vote.
Okay. Supervisor Conway?
Yes.
Counselor Fritz?
Yes.
Counselor Tierney?
Yes.
Counselor Matters?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 123 of 2020, a resolution to make a conditional job offer to Robert G. Stark for the position of police officer. I move this resolution. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on this resolution?
Just that we were hoping that outside of town hall in 8 minutes, we were going to have a properly distanced swearing in of Robert Stark, Judge Jessica Moserine was coming to do that, but his psych eval had to be pushed back a day, and we'll get the results on Thursday. So we make the conditional offer tonight, and then Thursday at 7 p.m., Judge Jessica's going to come down, and we'll swear Robert in, and then Ellen on Friday, I assume Friday morning, or if you're around at that point, we can sign both book then. But that's all I have to say. And thanks to Justice Moserine for her flexibility.
That sounds great. I didn't realize that we'll do that. That's fantastic. You know, I'm sorry we can't be in person to congratulate Mr. Stark on this appointment, but we will see him soon.
Well, you know what Jessica was going to do is she was going to bring somebody with her who she was going to be in the Zoom meeting, and she was going to share her screen and have somebody tape while they were doing it so it could be part of the meeting. So she was ready. But tonight we make the conditional offer, and that's very important.
Supervisor Conway?
Yes.
Counselor Matters?
Yes.
Counselor Tierney?
Yes.
Counselor Fritz?
Yes.
Resolution 124 of 2020, a resolution to adopt local law number 2 of 2020, repealing local law number 1 of the year 1971 and replacing it with a new provisions to create a conservation advisory council, otherwise known as a CAC, in the town of East Greenbush. I move this resolution. May I please have a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on this resolution?
Just that I'm very proud of us. Very, very proud of us. Proud of Adam, proud of Tina, proud of the board, proud of the Natural Resource Work Group. And I'll tell you, people have expressed interest in membership on this, and it's already shaping up. The people who are expressing interest are exactly the people who want to express interest in such a project. So I think this is a great step for the town. It's part of an entire thrust that this town board has developed. Tina has led it, and it's coming to fruition. We'll have this. Today we were looking at pictures of the Albany Hudson Electric Trail. I mean, the commitment of this board to changing both the environment and amenities of the town and changing them in a way that they can be protected as we move forward is really a great accomplishment. I'm very proud of all of us.
I'm thrilled that this is moving forward. This is, a long process to get here, but very thorough process. Thanks to Adam and Dave for their work on the local law and the resolution, and of course, our thanks to the work group for the natural resources inventory.
Absolutely. Dave, I was just going to say kudos to you, Dave, for picking up on the 1971 local law. Sometimes those things get lost in the sauce as we move forward. So I just thought I'd mention that. Sorry to interrupt.
Let me not accept that kudos. Can you hear me?
I can.
I don't think that was me. I believe that was Adam's catch. So I don't want to overplay the hand there.
Well, sometimes the two of you are interchangeable in some of these respects. So, blessings to the both of you for
thanks for trying. Thanks for trying. And I pressed something that disappeared me. I can hear you.
We can still see it too, Dave.
Can you?
Yeah, you look comfortable. Look like you're enjoying this. But when it comes to finding things buried in the archaeological past, Adam is the guy.
Yeah.
No stone unturned, Adam, right?
That's right. The archaeology of knowledge, Jack, I think.
Did I just hear a Michel Foucault reference in a town board meeting?
You did.
We're moving on up. We are moving on up. I actually love that book.
Hey, Adam, your hair is almost as long as mine.
I know. I was noticing your locks there.
I don't know which one of the Beatles I look most like. You think Ringo or?
This is the new Rick. I'm waiting for Mary Ann to weigh in with an opinion on this, but
She threatens to attack me at night sometime with a pair of cutting shears. You know.
yeah, I hear that. So
Oh. Okay.
very good.
Councillor
That's gonna
Tierney?
look good in the minutes, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Councillor Tierney?
Yeah.
Supervisor Conway?
Yes.
Councillor Matters?
Yes.
Councillor Fritz?
Yes.
Okay, a couple of things I want to talk about before we go here. One, and I purposely didn't warn Mike Martin we're doing this because tonight he's doing the cockpit of the grievance day for the Board of Assessment Review. He's got enough on his mind. But, you know, we're coming close to the point where we have to make a decision on summer camp. And Mike and I had set kind of June 1st as an arbitrary, you know, like if we're gonna do something, we probably need to know by then. Now that's 6 days away. We're expecting the governor will make some kind of announcement. He might cancel. He might prohibit day camps. He was certainly no help when he said I wouldn't send my kids to one. But what Mike and Taylor are doing is they're coming up with a series of alternative activities. And the idea is if we can hold summer camp, that's the shape that summer camp would take. There'd be no busing kids either way. There'd be no field trips. You know, it would have to be properly distanced. We'd probably have to revisit pricing if certain of those things are removed from the camp experience. But the reason I have them going full speed ahead on this is because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or be pessimistic, but it's hard to see how we're going to do summer camp, and we haven't ruled it out. And if we're given a green light, then you know I told Mike and Taylor they got to come up with a very detailed plan if they want this camp. But the alternative activities and events that they're talking about, if we don't do summer camp, we'll have to do some kind of program. You know, whether it's an all-day program, you pay $15, and you know we have all kinds of activities from morning till evening. You've seen what Mike and Taylor can do, okay? And so they've been charged with you got to come up with a game plan for summer fun. But what are you guys thinking about camp? What are your thoughts?
How do you envision, depending upon what's embraced, you know, by the executive chamber, how much of what we normally have for the summer program, how much of it could be retained under what would be anticipated circumstances at this point, or are any circumstances anticipated at this point, I guess, you know?
Well, there's I mean, the field trips are a big part of it. Every week, that's the excitement. They're going here or they're going there. The convenience of the school buses is really important for parents, but this would have to be drop off and pick up your own kid. Clearly, we won't be able to do as many campers because they'll have to be distanced. And furthermore, we've got 25 people signed up for summer camp. At this point, we usually have 200. Nobody wants to send their kids into groups.
Right.
And I get that. And yet the other side of that coin is the daycare aspect, which is people start going back to work. That's summer camp's greatest function is, you know, it's good for the kids, it's healthy, it's fun and all that. But it really works for the parents because they need childcare when school's out. So
it's certainly an affordable option that I took advantage of when my kids were younger. You know, there's some benefit in polling some of the parents, you know, but of course, if you poll them to gather that data, we should use that data and report on that data and not just let it fall into a vacuum.
Well, what I could have Mike do is come up with a list. A lot of people are pulling out. A couple of people called today and said, we're still game if you're still game. Things like that.
I think getting a sense of what those numbers are of those people, because I'm sure it will fall on a continuum of people that are absolutely yes, under any circumstances we would send our kids, and all the way down to, like you said, the registration numbers are low, and there are people that are saying absolutely not. But maybe getting a sense of what parents' expectations would be for, cleanliness and activities, and would they attend 5 days a week, or were they looking for maybe just some socialization for their kids to fill in that gap of what they've been missing for the last 2.5 months? That has to be well thought out before you do it, because again, if you collect information from people, they're going to expect that you use it to inform your decision. This is probably one of the most challenging decisions that will have to be made. The schools, Mr. Simons did a great job of explaining how uncertain things are, and the camp is going before schools. Certainly, if the camp was opening after schools open, we could use their best practices and lessons learned. But they're forging a new endeavor, and they don't want to do it wrong.
The Y has a different.
Jack, is this a decision that's up to the town board? Have you got any guidance from the State Department of Health or any of the other?
No, well, everybody's waiting for the governor.
Okay.
He said there's twice now we've expected the announcement.
Yeah.
And the last time he said the announcement is coming soon, but he wouldn't send his kids to summer camp, which wasn't helpful.
Yeah, his kids are like 30s, aren't they?
Yeah. But
different financial bracket than many of the people that would be using this.
But let's look at another side of this coin. Today was the first day. There were no positive cases in Rensselaer County.
Right.
0. First day. Now, we have a really low frequency. We also have a fairly low percentage of testing. So we're not really sure. But the research that the virus doesn't live as well or as long on surfaces as we thought. It's part of the problem is we have to make a decision, so we'll be ready. And it may just be that we make a decision not to have camp, and by the 3rd or 4th week of June, everybody's kind of taking a deep breath, and camp would be the thing that they need at that point. At that point, you can't put a program together. So.
Yeah, and we don't know the details. Like you said, they're coming up with some, variations of the plan, since we don't know that it's challenging to know if we would recommend it or not. So, if they're talking about, a modified schedule or modified locations, those details might help inform our decisions as well and our feedback.
Well, Shannon Romanowski at the Y has a whole different situation. She's going ahead, and they're going to call it summer care, not summer camp. And they can do that because they're regulated by the Office of Children and Family Services. And so under that licensing, they can do a summer care program that's distinguished from a summer camp program, but it would still be much of the same kind of stuff. But Shannon's looking at, the facility becomes so much smaller when you have to distance people. There's not a lot of room. But
right, once you explain that to some of the parents who are looking for a certain what they envision the camp would be like, it may not be as appealing to them as well. It might not meet the needs of what they're trying to do if it is socialization and exposure to cultural events and things.
Yeah.
Jack, are they putting a cap on that? The Y?
Yeah, they're going to.
Yeah.
They're still negotiating because they have that whole national structure, state structure, and all of that. But they're going to go ahead because I think, I have never asked Shannon this directly, but I think that the revenue from their summer camp is critical to their survival and maintaining staff levels and that kind of stuff. So, Bridget, what are you thinking?
I'm having a child of that age who would go to camp.
Right.
We had the intention of sending them for just a week or two, but because things have been so up in the air, we haven't registered.
Right, but would you if we announce it's open?
I think I would. At this point, I feel like the kids have been very well distanced. And from the conversations I've had with Mike and Taylor, that they're looking at keeping them in smaller groups, which is the way camp is set up already.
Right.
So they have the junior camp and the senior camp, so they're already dividing the kids by age. And within those groups, they have smaller breakdowns.
Right. But once we set the rules, Mike's going to have to figure out the budget, because if we're not going to have 200 campers and we're going to have 40, we're We're not going to have the number of counselors we had. The counselors have all been told that, you know, they know what's going on. They might not have jobs. And what we've been doing is the 5 directors have been working on other things, and they're working on coming up with these alternative projects because they're budgeted and they'll be paid, and those are important jobs for people. Okay, well, why don't we do this? I'll bring Mike into a conversation on email with the board. So from now to whenever we make the decision, the 6 of us will all be in sync and we'll move together. All right.
So regardless of, I was just going to say, regardless of what goes on programmatically, I assume there's no board action that's necessary, Jack, to deal with this.
No, it's an operational thing. Yeah.
Right.
But it's not a decision I want to make by myself. It's not a decision I want to make at all. But it's got to be made. It's got to be made soon, and we have to get it right. So this begins the conversation, and we'll go from there. Secondly, I'm going.
So, but before you go on to that second thing, it might be helpful if you do want ongoing, feedback from us. If they want to do a short presentation or maybe even video, some of their ideas and send it out in an email. That might be helpful too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
You just want to inform us of the choices that they're making.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I could try. I don't know. The 2 of them kind of went into a coma after the parade video was done. So this morning, that was our conversations. Now they're going to throw themselves into this. So I don't know how much they have. But hey, he's Mike. If he has anything, he will show it to you.
In all honesty, just video a Zoom call between them, kind of discussing it with maybe some slides, some basic information.
Yeah, but if we do that, we'd have to have a meeting.
Well, no, they can do it internally for their department and then share it with the board.
They could record it and then share the video.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's coming. That decision has to be made. The other thing is I've developed a plan to start reopening Town Hall next Monday, June 1st. It's a written plan. It's in draft form. Megan, Lisa, and Danny are reviewing it. I'm taking their comments. I'll create a next draft, and then Ellen and the board, I will ship it to you. But it all has to happen fast this week. But what it's based on is the idea that we're going to set up at the front door. Everyone has to come in the front door, staff or public. No more than 3 members of the public can be in the building at any one time. They can only come in by appointment. When they come to the front door, we will take their temperature. We have 3 screening questions. If they don't have a mask and glove, it will be provided for them, and they will have to sign in. All appointments from every department have to be cleared through Lisa O'Brien, who's going to be the building manager for this phase of it. And we will have a person staffing that front door when you come in. Offices, whenever possible, I want only 1 person in an office. But if more than 1 has to be in the office, they have to be 10 feet apart, their workstations, no sharing of supplies or equipment. So it deals with that. It deals with what employees must do, what they should do. It deals with if an employee tests positive, what we're going to do. It has a cleaning schedule, a very specific daily cleaning schedule, which includes disinfecting copy machines and shared surfaces and all that kind of stuff, and also a deep cleaning every weekend that the building is clean. So you'll see it. Today's Tuesday. You'll see it by Thursday, and I hope to promulgate it over the weekend and start Monday. No DMV. The county's talking about reopening DMV. I'm not letting them in the building. We'll revisit that every 2 weeks, but June 1st, nope. Courts, we haven't heard yet. As soon as the courts, as OCA tells us what we can do, what we have to do, and what we can do, we're going to have to come up with a plan, because there's no way 140 people are coming on criminal court night and jamming into that courtroom. We're talking about everything from plexiglass, temporary plexiglass in front of the judges, and clerk, you know, distancing on the sidewalk, at least while the weather's nice if we have to. They're coming up with ways to do virtual stuff, and traffic stuff is going to be handled differently. So the courts were waiting to see what's going to happen. But my fear in all of this is that I don't want to be the town government to be a point of infection. I don't want the police department. I don't want the Department of Public Works. I don't want Town Hall to become a point of infection, because what will happen then is we will lose our workforce. Okay, holding aside that everybody gets through it who gets sick and all of that, we will lose our entire workforce if this happens. And I'm very, very proud of the work we've done. I'm very proud of how hard people have worked and how well they've pulled together. And we're getting a lot done. We're moving all the big stuff along. But, you know, we start having health problems. That's all going to go away too. And I do not know how you run a town government if you don't have town employees. So my fear is I have to keep everybody safe. What we've learned, and Ellen, you could jump in here, but what we learned is having people put stuff in the mailbox, perfect. You don't have to come hassle the town clerk or the supervisor. I'm only kidding, because people, you know, I miss that part of the interactions where people can talk to you, and you learn a lot about what's going on in town and what people are doing. But Ellen, don't you agree that the Dropbox is really efficient?
Oh, it's working out great. And again, when we do open by appointment starting Monday, the only people that it would be kind of nice to have in is a couple getting their marriage license.
Yeah.
Other than that, even a handicap tag, we pass them through the front door. It's, you know, it's easier for some if they're the ones getting the tag, because they don't have to come in and come up the stairs and, you know, just it's.
The burden of the Dropbox is that the two town clerks have to be very organized and follow through, because otherwise you can't lose these things. Otherwise, the system collapses. So Ellen and Michelle have been handling it. So
and it's been very busy. I mean, Friday was like a Monday, and Michelle had a crazy day today, and I was working from home all day. But I tried calling her, she couldn't answer, and you know, she called me later, and it's been very busy.
Yeah, we actually have reached the point where we have to send Adam a map on how to get to town hall. It's been, well, we were thinking about it today. We think it's 2 months since we've seen Adam in the flesh.
I think so.
I think it's 2 months. I'm still here, I promise you. This is not, we're not in an episode of Black Mirror yet.
You know what that show is, Adam?
It's a great show. It's really hard to watch. Got to be in the right mood.
Yeah, good man. Good man.
I have a quick question. When you have a 3-person maximum, and then you do a marriage license, does that count as 2 of your 3, or
counts as 2 of my 3?
Okay, I'm just curious.
Point. Yeah, good point, Meg.
So when
not that good a point. 3 is 3.
Maybe before
one appointment,
but not afterwards, because then they're 1.
now,
or so they say.
Now. So anyway, that's coming as well. When you get the draft, you're going to have to turn it around quickly. It's a quick read. It's 3 or 4 pages, and you can, you know, all comments are welcome. Lisa Borst sent a bunch of comments there that were really, really good. Lot of really kind of stuff like, for example, if we're going to rotate staff at the front door, we need some kind of training so that they know what they're doing. So she was full of good ideas. But that's coming. And the other thing is, if anyone on the board feels that when they see it, that we're moving too fast, then just share that with everyone and let's talk about it. I think the timing's right. The parks are going to open up Friday instead of Monday. So the parks will be open for this weekend. We're taking the baskets down in Hampton Manor Park. I don't want anybody playing basketball. That's been a real problem down there, even while we're while all of this has been going on. But we got to open up. We got to come back, and we want to do it smart. We want to do it in phases, and we want to be very careful. So the big things are how we reopen town hall, whether we do summer camp for the moment. Those are the big things. Okay. Then the next thing is we had this late this afternoon. We became aware of that the Department of Public Works is interested in hiring Mason Albert as a part-time employee. I don't have a resolution. We're not going to vote on it tonight. But what I need to do is take the temperature of the board, because we'd like to get them started, and we could start them June 1st if we can appoint them retroactively at the June meeting. But if any one of you has reservations about that, we'll wait till the June meeting.
Mason's a fantastic kid. He'd be a great add to the department.
Good. Yeah, I think so too. He's nuts. I mean, by nuts, I mean that in such a good way. He's such a focused young guy.
He's a great kid. I've known Mason for, I don't even know how long, since at least before kindergarten. He'll be a great add.
Yeah, and he, if you see what he's accumulated in terms of credentials, he's one of the youngest EMSs in Rensselaer County. He's got his future organized. He knows what he wants to do, and what he's proven, because he's doing school and he was doing EMS school, is he's proven that this kid's willing to work for what he wants. So, Bridget, Rick, what do you guys think?
I'm okay. The fact that Scott's sent such a rave review.
Yeah.
I trust his thought process on it. Danny, how do you feel about it?
I'm fine with it. In the beginning, I didn't really want to bring anyone in, besides Bill. But I know Mason. I know he worked for Town Camp. I know he's a hard worker, like his father. So I don't see a problem with it. I kind of want to put him in his own vehicle, so he will be kind of separated from everybody anyway. So
yeah, he's about as noisy as his father too.
Yeah.
Rick, what are you thinking?
No, I met him. Eric introduced him to me a while back, and I don't know him personally, but I certainly know Paul and Eric. So that together, like Bridget mentioned, together with Scott and Danny's endorsement, I'm more than fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think Eric's a plus. I don't think we should hold Paul against him. I'm sorry. If Scott Gallery's not here to be teased, I have to tease Paul. So we'll go ahead and bring him in. And the other thing, Dan, is he'll do a good job, but if he doesn't, we'll have to deal with him. We're gonna have to teach him, Dan.
There's a lot of flowers that need to be watered. So.
Yeah. Well,
there's a ton of things for him to
Danny,
do.
The front of town hall looks great. The corner of 4 and 9 and 20 look great. You can tell who's the commissioner of public works right now.
Wait a couple days, town hall. Tomorrow, the shrubs are going in.
Oh, good.
So it's looking different.
Good. Now we got to get those carpets rolling, and then we're good.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jack, just one question regarding the town hall protocols. Do you envision these being, I don't want to say permanent, but for the foreseeable future, do you see them remaining unchanged, or do you feel like you might be tweaking them based on data coming out of the, I don't want to say the executive chamber, but I know there's a regional team that you're a part of, along with McLaughlin, with County Exec McLaughlin. So do you envision that data that may evolve over time as affecting some of the criteria that you laid out? Or
yeah, Rick, I'm looking at it as every 2 weeks we're going to revisit it. And the other thing is, it's going to have to, like when OCA tells us what's up with the courts, we're going to have to write a plan all by itself for the courts on court night and people coming in to pay tickets. And because the other thing we're doing is we have Colleen Lawyer working on how do we transition to just electronic payments. If we've learned anything, we've been backwards in our modes of payment for a very long time. Tony said no problem with working with cash. Kim liked it. The courts liked it, but no more. Okay, no more. people are saying, how come we can't pay our water bills online? Why can't we pay this? It's 2020. We have a controller who doesn't like this. We had important elected officials who were wedded to that system. That's all gone. The time is now. Colleen's going to figure it out, and then we're going to move to as cashless a system as we can. Whoa, is that Michael Martin? Look at this. Mike, is grievance day over?
We were talking about it, so I ran as fast as.
No. We were having this conversation just because you couldn't be in it.
Oh, I see that.
How is grievance? Makes sense. Mike, let's go to priorities. How's grievance day?
Grievance day went great. We're
Are you done?
Yep, we're all set.
You pulled it off?
We're all set. It's done.
Damn.
All set. No problems. It all went very well. We had everybody connected. It went fine.
I don't care what Tina and Ellen say about you, Mike. You're all right.
Jack. Mike, you don't believe that.
I don't know.
All right, Mike. So
never lie.
Well, since you barged in, why don't you tell the board what you're thinking about camp?
So that's kind of, I do enjoy seeing all of you, but that is why I kind of barged in. I talked to Jack today. I've been talking to Shannon Romanowski, who I believe we talked about earlier today. I understand things are a little questionable right now. There are towns that are closing camps. I have a meeting tomorrow with our 2 camp directors to discuss alternative plans as well as alternative plans to those alternative plans. But Jack and me have discussed a June 1st kind of cutoff date in terms of we would have to get staffing, training, such and that. But I want to hold out the little bit of hope that me and Taylor don't sleep at night trying to find a way that we can make this work. And what my plan for this week is to give you guys a very comprehensive, very detailed plan on if there is summer camp, here's how it would go. If we do alternative 1, here's alternative 1. Alternative 2, here's alternative, and break it down like that. Because if we don't have a physical camp, I am not, and I know for a fact that the board is not, we're not going to be like other towns and just close up ship and say, oh, well, that's sad, we're done. No. That's not how East Greenbush does things. So I just wanted to let you guys know that by June 1st, we will have those plans in place to give to all of you. And then obviously the floor is yours, and I'm here to answer any questions that, we have on any of those plans.
Tina, why don't you ask Mike, at least anecdotally, what he's hearing from parents?
Yeah, I mean, when Jack brought up the idea, we didn't have a sense of what you were hearing. So I just asked the question if you've considered polling the parents to find out where they fall on that continuum of willingness and need to have this program running and how much use they would put into it, what their expectations would be.
Right. Well, I actually, during grievance day, I got 3 emails from parents, and I believe Taylor told me she received 2 calls today about it. I had one family, which is an interesting trend, call and say, I'm pulling my kid out of summer camp, not for the reason that I don't trust the staff, but because, I'm a stay-at-home mom. My husband still has his job. I don't feel right taking that spot from somebody who really needs this service. I thought that was very admirable of somebody to say. I have other parents who receive assistance through organizations like Concerns You and Rensselaer, who really do need this service. I don't know what a summer to them is going to look like. If them and their spouse or whoever has to work and there's no opportunity for them to, bring their child anywhere. And it's mass chaos in the summer, if there's children running around like crazy. There's other parents who at the moment are on board. I've discussed with them, what ultimately could happen. Tina sent me some CDC guidelines that outline for a very different kind of summer camp. And there are some parents who say, that's fine, just please take my kids. And there's others that want to wait and, see what the governor says. It's really a mixed bag. What I would like to have, and I know it's not in my jurisdiction, to say this, but I think some kind of either a public hearing or a discussion with just parents who signed up is definitely needed. I can send out a mass email to those who have applied, but I think it's definitely worth seeing, what the pulse of the town is. If there's a camp, are you comfortable sending your kids? Because if you're not, then you kind of, solve that problem right then and there. But if you're still comfortable sending your kids to camp, and it's something we can do, Taylor and I aren't going to just, fall back and go, okay, well, we're going to work to make sure that's possible from both a human health perspective and from just a feasibility standpoint.
Mike, how would you see a hearing like that working?
What's up?
How would you see a hearing like that working? How could we organize that kind of discussion?
Right. I think just from my end, for just a time and ease perspective, because I just ran one of these meetings, I know it's not easy. I have every parent's cell phone, email, everything like that. If it takes a day or even a Saturday or whatever, because I've noticed I work around the clock because I love this job so much and I don't really care. We can reach out to parents and just have a conversation with them.
If you want some help developing some type of a survey, I can help you with that.
Okay, I think that's the direction we should definitely go. And I just feel very I don't even know if I should. I feel a personal responsibility to these families in East Greenbush who don't. This is their summer. They need this to get through their summer. That's not what the crux of summer camp is, and I get that. But for some families, it really is. There can't be a physical camp. We absolutely are making alternative plans. But I want to, at least see how feasible step one is before, I have to go into that. We're planning for everything, but.
All right.
Well, I mean, like we said before you jumped in, too, is if you want to run anything by us, or if you want feedback, or, or if you don't want feedback from us, but if you wanted to, just send us an email, or even if we said if you want to just if it's easier to say it, record a message and shoot it out to us, we can give you feedback. However, we can support your work. I'm happy to help you.
Yeah.
I used the town camp for my kids when they were younger too, and just as much for an affordable option while I worked as it was for them to socialize and be exposed to different people in different situations.
Right. No, it's just so important. And I have the camp directors that we hired, as Jack calls them, the
gang of five.
The gang of five. They're calling me every day with, hey, what about this? What about this? We're all very adamant about finding a way to make this work, and we're not sitting on our hands. Part of me is glad that the parade is over, and now this can be my 100%, focus.
I just want the board to understand that this guy just ran all of grievance day, and because he's such a lightweight, he didn't do name that tune also. I mean, he only did grievance day. Come on.
He just didn't want me to not win.
Tina was dangerous.
We're doing it tomorrow. It's going to happen
tomorrow night. So spend your day on Spotify and see what you can find out.
There you go.
All right, but Mike, thanks. And take Tina up on the framing of questions, because if you're going to start talking to parents, make it a consistent thing.
Right.
Ask the same questions, and Tina can work with you on how to measure it. Create questions that can be measured. That kind of stuff, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry to barge in.
Oh, you have eyes and ears everywhere, Mike. That's dangerous.
But before you leave, how many views on the virtual parade have you had?
Oh, last I checked, we're up to 820.
Really?
Fabulous.
Wow. That's awesome.
Steve McLaughlin shared it.
Well, I think that's, it's funny. As soon as Rensselaer County shared it, it kind of did this.
Yeah. But to his credit, in the supervisors meeting countywide, everybody's kind of looking at us like, we're a unicorn. We're just doing things differently, and everybody gets a kick out of it. I think they see me as kind of this wayward hippie, but I think they think I'm kind of harmless. I'm nice to people, and I get along. And we made sure we had 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, so we don't play that kind of partisan stuff. Tina was great. Tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about it.
I just wanted to find out how we turned a 3-resolution meeting into an hour and a half.
Oh, we're not done.
Alone.
We're not done?
Well, yeah, once you call a meeting and we can talk about stuff, it's a good time.
I'll
Mike,
let you get back
are
to
you,
it, though.
are you home, Mike?
Yeah, no, I'm home finally.
Okay, well, you go relax, all right?
That's not in my vocabulary, but I'll try my hardest.
No, just get ready to fight again tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how the days go these days.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, guys.
Take care.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mike.
and the last thing is, I was going to have an executive session tonight to talk about a particular appointment in the police department that we discussed previously, but I'm still waiting on a budget analysis from the chief in consultation with Megan. So I'm not bringing that to the board till I have that, because under the circumstances, we can't just add a high-paying, doesn't count towards minimum staffing job on top of the police budget. So we got to figure out how we're going to do that. I think I know how it can be done. Megan and I talked about it, but the chief really needs to sit down with Megan and go through it. And once we have that at the next meeting, we'll do an executive session. So does anybody have any other questions or comments you want to make?
Good.
We're good? Okay, with that, I make a motion to adjourn. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Supervisor Conroy?
Yes.
Counselor Matters?
Yes.
Counselor Tierney?
Yes.
Counselor Fritz?
Yes.
Okay, guys. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice night.
Yes, thank you, Megan.
Megan,
Good night,
thanks, Adam.
everybody.
Thanks, Dan.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, Art.